On my 32nd birthday, as guests clinked glasses and my husband gave his usual charming toast, my younger sister raised hers too, with a smirk on her lips and a hand over her stomach. "I'm pregnant," she announced. Laughter turned to silence. Faces froze mid-chew. And somewhere behind all that stillness I shattered. What no one knew, not her not him, was that this birthday would mark the beginning of their end. I had suspected, prepared and waited. And now it was showtime. My name is Cassandra Gray. People call me Cass. I used to be the dependable one, until life taught me that being dependable makes you the perfect doormat. I was married to Tyler for 6 years. We met in college, got married in a daze of young love and Pinterest dreams, and for a while it felt like we were building something real. Then came Amelia, my younger half-sister. She was wild, rebellious, and reckless in ways that always drew sympathy from others. She had a rough childhood, they said. Be patient with her. So I was. Patient when she lost jobs, crashed cars, burned through apartments. Patient when she asked if she could stay with us, just for a while, after her latest breakup. What was I supposed to do? She was family. She had nowhere else to go. And I never imagined my own blood would become the woman my husband would betray me with. At first it was subtle, the way Tyler began defending her whenever I asked Amelia to help out. He used to roll his eyes at her drama, but now suddenly, she's just going through a lot. I chalked it up to guilt. Maybe he felt bad watching her struggle. Maybe he saw her like a little sister too. But that didn't explain the way they'd laugh in the kitchen while I was upstairs folding laundry. Or how he started putting on cologne before driving her to interviews. Or how one night I found her phone vibrating on the counter, and Tyler's name flashing on the screen at 2:13 a.m. That night changed everything. I didn't confront her. Not immediately. I watched. Waited. Traced patterns. I became what I never thought I'd be. Suspicious, calculating, quiet. The truth was heavy, but I refused to carry it blindly. I needed more than a feeling. I needed proof. Because when you're up against liars, emotion makes you weak. Evidence that makes you powerful. I placed a small recording device behind the dresser in the guest room, her room. I hated myself for doing it. I hated what it meant. But I needed to hear it from them. I needed the confirmation no matter how much it broke me. Took 3 nights. On the third, the recorder caught it all. Her breathless giggle, his whispered name, the betrayal I had naively welcomed under my own roof. I sat in my car parked in the driveway listening to the audio in the dark. My hands didn't shake. I didn't cry. I just sat there absorbing the raw, vile truth. Amelia had slept with Tyler. More than once. And he hadn't stopped her. He'd helped her. Hidden it. Lied to my face every day while she sat at my dinner table, smirking over mashed potatoes. I should have screamed. I should have thrown her out that night. But instead I deleted the recording. Because I had a better idea. My birthday was a week away. We were planning a small gathering. Close friends. Some family. Tyler wanted to rent a private room at a restaurant, but I insisted on keeping it at home. I wanted every crack in this foundation to happen where they felt safest. The morning of the party, Amelia pranced around the house like a teenager on prom day. She wore my perfume. My heels. I smiled at her. I even let her borrow my dress. She thought she was winning. Tyler was all fake affection, kissing my cheek in front of guests like the loyal husband he was not. My friends told me how lucky I was. I nodded. Agreed. Played my part. And then, as the champagne glasses were passed around and everyone gathered in the living room, Amelia stood beside me, resting one hand over her stomach. I have a little announcement, she chirped, eyes flickering toward Tyler. And there was. I'm pregnant. I froze. But not because I didn't expect it. I froze because now it was real. Their game had evolved. She had gone from mistress to mother. Or so she thought. The room went silent. My mother gasped. A guest choked on a sip of wine. Someone whispered, "Is it Tyler's?" Amelia beamed like she had won the lottery. And Tyler, his face went pale, then recovered with a forced smile. He reached out to touch her arm. And that's when I moved. I stood, lifted my glass, smiled. "Well," I said slowly, "congratulations." Amelia blinked. "Thank you, Cass." "No, really," I said, my voice slicing through the silence like a scalpel. "I mean it. Because today isn't just my birthday. It's also the day I want to give you a gift." I turned toward the projector on the wall. With a quick flick, the screen lit up. The video began to play. It wasn't the recording. It was the security footage from our front door. Tyler sneaking into Amelia's room at 1 a.m. shirtless in my house. The timestamps were clear. The footage undeniable. There were gasps. Someone said, "Oh my God." Tyler stepped forward. "Cass, I can explain." I raised a hand. "No. Don't." Amelia's face crumbled. She looked around the room, her eyes begging for sympathy. But all she saw were jaws dropped, eyes wide, and backs slowly turning away. "Cass, please," she began. "Save it. You've already said enough." And then calmly I reached for the manila envelope on the table. "These," I said, placing it in Tyler's hands, "are divorce papers. Already signed. Already filed. And Amelia." She looked up, trembling. "You'll be getting a bill. For every month of rent you never paid. Every grocery you ate. Every electricity bill your nightly visits ran up. You wanted to act like a woman in this house? Time to pay like one." The party was over. People filed out quickly, whispering among themselves. My mother lingered, unsure whether to hug me or apologize. I told her not to bother. Tyler tried to follow me to the bedroom, pleading. I shut the door in his face. That night I slept on clean sheets. Alone. Peacefully. And Amelia? She packed her things in silence the next morning. But my story was far from over. Because she thought she could walk away. She had no idea what I would do next. The day after the party I didn't cry. I didn't curl up with ice cream or call my friends to wail about heartbreak. I went to the spa. Yes, the spa. Because clarity needs calm, and I needed to think like a strategist, not a wounded wife. Amelia had always thrived on attention. Even as children, she could cry her way out of trouble and into someone else's arms. She used pity like currency. Tyler? He was weaker. He liked being worshipped. He liked being the rescuer. That's what I had been to him at first. A challenge. But once the challenge was gone, so was the appeal. He wasn't built for strong women. That's why he fell into Amelia's drama like it was a warm bath. My plan wasn't just to expose them. That was easy. That was emotional. What I needed was structural collapse. I wanted to ruin what they thought they had, slowly, publicly, and without laying a hand on them. I wanted their own choices to turn to rot. Step 1. Financial control. Tyler and I shared a joint account. I had frozen it the night before the party. But I also had access to all our investment accounts, the car title, the mortgage documents, the insurance on his watch collection, and, most importantly, the luxury condo we bought under my name as a long-term asset. Tyler was still living in my house. So while he packed a bag to go stay at a friend's, I had the locks changed. The friend called me later that night saying, "Hey, I thought he could crash here for a few days. What's going on?" I replied, "Just make sure he leaves without the Rolex. It's still on our joint insurance plan." He did. I had it picked up the next morning. Amelia was living temporarily with a girl named Leah, one of her old party friends. She had blocked me on everything, thinking I would chase her down. I didn't. Instead, I went quiet. And silence is where people get careless. The first rumor I heard came from a colleague at my law firm. "Hey Cass, someone saw Amelia and Tyler at the copper room. She's telling people they're in love and that you kicked them out for being too happy." Too happy. That's when I smiled. It was time for step 2. Poison the soil they tried to plant themselves in. I started with Amelia's job application at a boutique marketing firm. She had lied on her resume, listing me as her reference, something she often did when applying for serious jobs. What she forgot was that this time I wasn't her big sister anymore. I was a woman she betrayed. So when the HR manager called to verify her experience, I said, "I would not recommend Amelia for any position requiring confidentiality, integrity, or professionalism. In my personal opinion, her relationships in the workplace tend to become complicated." I left it at that. She didn't get the job. Tyler, meanwhile, tried to start over at a small PR firm downtown. A step down from his previous position, but one of the few places that hadn't heard about the birthday bombshell. Or so he thought. I made sure to run into one of the senior partners at a charity gala I attended. Champagne in hand, I casually dropped, "Tyler? Well, I'm surprised he applied. Isn't your firm strict about ethical conduct? Especially after the scandal?" The partner leaned in, interested. I smiled sweetly and walked away. Tyler's offer was rescinded by the end of the week. Now came step 3, public perception. People love drama. They also love justice. So, I called an old college friend who ran a lifestyle blog that dabbled in real-life relationship exposés. I didn't mention names, I didn't need to. I just told her I had a story. Sister steals husband while living rent-free in older sister's home. Gets pregnant. Birthday party reveal. She ran with it. The blog exploded overnight. It didn't take long before people guessed it was about Amelia and Tyler. The comments were brutal. But it was the Reddit thread that sealed their social exile. Someone posted their photos, public ones from Amelia's now-defunct influencer page, and titled it, "She slept with her sister's husband and thought she'd be celebrated." Over 40,000 upvotes. Meanwhile, I did what they never expected, I flourished. I accepted a promotion at the law firm. Bought myself a new apartment. Sleek, high-rise, all mine. I started posting polished, empowering photos on social media. I looked unbothered. Beautiful. Thriving. And that's when I got the text. From Amelia. It was 2:17 a.m. Cass, I'm sorry. I didn't know who else to talk to. Tyler is acting weird. He's been distant. I think he regrets everything. Please. Can we talk? I didn't reply. 2 days later, another text. I had a doctor's appointment. It wasn't what I thought. I lost it. Please, Cass, please. So I said nothing. Because the final part of my revenge wasn't to scream at her. It wasn't to throw everything back in her face. It was to move on. Completely. Without looking back. Let her sit with her choices. Let Tyler realize he traded gold for rust. Let them rot in the silence they once mistook for my weakness. 1 week later, I was having brunch with a charming executive from a rival firm. He knew my story, everyone did, but he treated me with warmth and respect. Halfway through our meal, he leaned in and said, "You know what I admire most about you? You didn't burn the bridge. You just built a better one." I smiled. "That's the plan," I said. And somewhere across the city, Amelia was still waiting for a reply that would never come. 3 weeks after the party, the buzz around the blog post had simmered, but the damage was permanent. Tyler's reputation was in ruins. Amelia's influencer dreams were in ashes. Sponsorships pulled out. Followers turned against her. Even her old friends, some of whom had secretly envied her, started distancing themselves like betrayal was contagious. I watched from my new apartment, sipping espresso with a view of the skyline. It was strange, how the silence after chaos felt like victory. But I wasn't finished. I had one last string to pull. And I knew exactly where to pull it. Amelia had moved in with Tyler. Of course. They were playing house now, in the same run-down apartment he once mocked for being too beneath his taste. I found out through a friend of a friend that he had sold his car and cashed out his 401k to cover rent and expenses. He couldn't find a steady job, and Amelia, while she didn't believe in working for a living, I could have left them to spiral. But I wanted the final collapse to be slow and self-inflicted. That's when I reached out to Leah. Leah was the same girl Amelia stayed with after the birthday disaster. And Leah had stories, old secrets Amelia never thought would resurface. I invited her to brunch under the guise of catching up, but she saw through it instantly. "You want dirt," she said, flipping her curls. "And I've got plenty." "Name your price," I replied. She laughed. "Just one thing, I want front row seats when it all goes down." I agreed. From Leah, I learned that Amelia had been playing this game for years. I wasn't her first betrayal. There had been others. Friends, colleagues, even an ex's father. She used charm like a weapon and tears like currency. But what she never anticipated was someone who knew how to use truth more powerfully than lies. I took the most damning evidence and compiled it into a digital dossier. Screenshots. Emails. Photos. Messages from men she swore never existed. Then I sent it to one person. Tyler. No name. No message. Just a clean file with the title, "Still think she's the one?" He didn't respond. But I didn't expect him to. What happened next was better than I imagined. A week later, I received a call from a mutual friend. "Cass, you won't believe this. Amelia was kicked out. Tyler's staying at his brother's now. He told everyone she cheated on him." I blinked, then laughed. Hard. So, Amelia did what Amelia always does, she reached out to me. This time it wasn't a text. It was a voicemail. Her voice was trembling. She wasn't angry anymore, she sounded tired. Defeated. Like the gravity of her choices had finally sunk in. Cass, I don't know who else to talk to. He left. He said I lied about the baby. I didn't. I thought I was. I'm so alone. Please. I know I messed up. I know I don't deserve your help. But I'm sorry. She ended it with a sob. But apologies mean nothing when they come from a place of loss, not remorse. I didn't reply. Instead, I focused on my own life. My new promotion came with new responsibilities, and a new office. One with a glass wall, a skyline view, and a freedom I hadn't felt in years. I redecorated it with calm tones, gold accents, and a single photo of me, standing at the summit of a mountain I climbed alone. I was no longer the woman who gave second chances to people who weaponized my kindness. That week, my firm hosted a networking gala. I arrived in a deep emerald dress, hair swept back, heels clicking like confidence itself. And guess who was there? Tyler. He looked older. Smaller. Like the world had sucked the arrogance from him. He tried to avoid me at first, nursing a whiskey in the corner. But by the end of the night, he approached. Cass, he said. I turned cool and composed. Tyler. He looked down, then back at me. You look amazing. I nodded. I know. There was a long pause. He fumbled with his glass. I just wanted to say I'm sorry. For everything. I don't expect forgiveness. But you didn't deserve what happened. And I was a fool. I gave a soft smile. You were, I said. But you weren't the only one. He looked confused. I was a fool too, I continued. For thinking that loyalty meant sacrificing myself. For believing love was supposed to hurt. For letting someone live in my home, eat my food, and take what was never hers to have. Tyler opened his mouth but couldn't speak. You know what the best part is? I said, leaning in slightly. You and Amelia. You thought you broke me. But really you freed me. And now you both get to live with the aftermath of your choices. I get to walk forward. You get to look back. He swallowed hard. I miss you. I smiled. I don't. And with that I walked away. Later that night I got another voicemail from Amelia. It was short. I saw him tonight. You were right. I never stood a chance. Not against you. That was the last time she reached out. After Tyler's pathetic confession at the gala, I expected silence. But betrayal leaves a scent. It lingers. A week later, a subtle headline popped up on a local lifestyle site. From infidelity to independence. A former power couple's tumultuous fallout. No names were mentioned, but the timing, the details, the quotes. It was us. Or more specifically, them. Amelia had spoken to a writer. Probably to take back the narrative. Paint herself as misunderstood. A victim. Maybe even the real heroine. I clicked through out of curiosity. She was always too perfect, Amelia had said. Like I was just some shadow in her perfect little life. And then she dropped the bomb. I never meant for things to happen with Tyler. But we fell in love. Real love. That kind of connection isn't something you can control. I let the words wash over me. Disbelief. No. I had long stopped expecting anything honest from her. But disappointment? That still lingered. Not because of the lies, but because she believed them herself. So I took a deep breath, and sent the article to Leah. 3 hours later my inbox dinged. Subject: I've got something better. Attached was a folder labeled, Amelia's Real Love Story. Screenshots. Chat logs. Flirty messages between Amelia and another man, while she was with Tyler. A minor influencer she had met at some brand event. She'd been keeping her options open. Of course. Leah, ever the chaos queen, had saved them all back when she and Amelia were still close. Just in case. I never trusted her, she told me. Figured one day you'd want this. I stared at the messages. Amelia playing Tyler, bragging about how easy he was, how boring he'd become. Calling him just a stepping stone. And in one thread she said something that made me pause. Cass is too smart to stay hurt for long. She's probably already 5 steps ahead. I almost feel bad. Almost. That was all I needed. So I wrote an anonymous tip to the same blog that ran the sympathetic interview. No threats, no manipulation, just cold, hard proof. They fact-checked. Cross-referenced dates. Ran it a week later as a follow-up. Exclusive. Amelia's private messages leak. Was it ever about love? This time it exploded. Reddit got involved again. Hashtag Amelia Exposed began trending locally. Someone even made a meme of her quote, "We fell in love," overlaid on a screenshot of her texting, "I swear Tyler's only good for paying bills." Tyler's friends, once cautiously neutral, began cutting him off publicly. One even commented, "Bro went from husband of the year to neighborhood joke." All for someone who didn't even want him. My phone buzzed. It was Tyler. "Why are you doing this?" he texted. I didn't reply. Because I wasn't doing anything. I wasn't forcing lies, posting rants, or screaming into the void. I was simply letting the truth breathe. And sometimes the truth is a wildfire. In the weeks that followed, Amelia's world shrank. Brands blacklisted her. A former sponsor even issued a public apology for associating with an individual whose values don't align with ours. He tried to fight back. Posted a video titled, "My Side of the Story." But the comments were merciless. "You mean your 15th side? Girl, just say you're sorry and log out." Even worse for her, the new guy, the influencer she flirted with, ghosted her. Publicly. He posted a selfie with another girl and captioned it, "No drama, just peace." Tyler, meanwhile, moved in with his brother. Rumors swirled that he was applying for jobs out of state. I heard he was even thinking about changing his last name, anything to disassociate from the digital storm he helped create. I didn't chase them. I didn't rub it in. I went to work. Hosted a charity auction. Booked a weekend getaway to Lake Como. Posted photos not for revenge but because I was finally living for me. That's when I got the letter. Yes, an actual letter. Handwritten. No return address. Just my name on a cream envelope. Inside were 5 words. "You really never looked back." The signature? Just an A. I folded it slowly. Stared at it. Amelia had always thought I'd come running eventually. That blood would be thicker than betrayal. That I'd fall for her tears one more time. But here's the thing. You can only drown if you choose to stay in the water. I walked out of the ocean and built a kingdom on dry land. No. She was just a ghost outside the gates. The last time I saw Amelia was by accident. It had been nearly 4 months since the birthday that changed everything. My life had bloomed into something so beautifully peaceful that some mornings I almost forgot what she and Tyler did. I woke up to quiet. To my own space. To clean countertops and no lies hanging in the air. I had just finished a client meeting at a downtown cafe and decided to take the long way back to my car. Spring was teasing the trees with early blossoms, and for once I wasn't in a rush to get anywhere. That's when I spotted her, sitting alone on a worn park bench, staring at nothing, knees pulled up, a cup of coffee trembling in her hand. She looked unrecognizable. Gone was the polished, Instagram-perfect version of Amelia. Her hair hung limp and her hoodie was 2 sizes too big. She had dark circles beneath her eyes. And yet there was still that air of pride about her, the kind she used to wear like perfume. But this time it was cracked. She saw me before I could turn away. "Cass," she called out, standing up. I paused, considered walking away. But I didn't. I approached slowly, each step echoing with memories I no longer mourned. "I didn't think I'd see you again," she said, her voice softer than I remembered. "You look incredible." I didn't respond. I didn't thank her. She gave a small, sad smile. "I guess I deserve that." I stayed silent. She looked down at her cup. "Tyler's gone. Really gone this time. He left for Oregon. Said he needed a fresh start, without me." I said nothing. "He told his brother I ruined his life," she added with a hollow laugh. "Can you believe that? Me. I ruined his life." I tilted my head slightly. "Didn't you?" She blinked at my voice, calm even but cold as glass. She didn't answer. "I lost everything," she whispered. "My career, my friends, even Mom barely talks to me. She said I embarrassed the family." I raised an eyebrow. "And you're surprised?" "I'm not asking for pity," she said quickly. I wanted to say something. I've been rehearsing it in my head for months. I know you don't owe me anything. But I need to say it." I crossed my arms. "Then say it." She drew in a shaky breath. "I'm sorry. For everything. For betraying you. For making you feel like you weren't enough. You were always more than enough, Cass. I was jealous. Always. Your life, your confidence, the way people respected you. Tyler was just The one thing I thought I could take from you. But all I did was lose myself. And him. A long silence stretched between us. I know you'll never forgive me, she said finally. And maybe that's okay. I just needed you to know. I nodded once. How I do. He swallowed. So, are you happy? The question hung in the air. And then I smiled. Yes, I said. I am. Happier than I've ever been. And I meant it. Because in the wreckage they left behind I had built something beautiful. A life sculpted from independence, healing and purpose. And Amelia? She looked at me like she'd just seen sunlight for the first time in months, and realized it wasn't hers anymore. She didn't ask me for help. She didn't try to hug me. Maybe finally she understood that this version of me, this calm, unshakable woman standing in front of her, wasn't someone who could be manipulated anymore. I hope you find peace, I said. Then I turned and walked away. I never heard from her again. But a month later Leah sent me a link. A small blog post buried among others titled, Why I'll Never Be the Other Woman Again. It wasn't signed but I knew who had written it. She didn't name me. Or Tyler. But every word was soaked in regret. And the last line stuck with me. Some people forgive. Some people forget. But the ones who walk away without saying a word, they're the ones you'll remember forever. I closed the tab. Because I didn't need to remember her anymore. My life had become so much more than what they broke. They thought I'd break. They thought I'd crawl or beg or scream. But instead I rose, quietly, steadily, until they were nothing more than a cautionary tale in the story of my comeback. Because the best revenge is never needing revenge at all. Just rising. The